What's going on, everybody? My name is Dwayne, and you're tuned into this week's episode of Developing Apex Brands. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Developing Apex Brands, here with your boy, Dwayne, coming to you live from the Edit Bay. So on this week's episode, I'm doing another entrepreneur series. I think this is going to be one of the most unique individuals that I'm going to have on the show. This individual is a all-around artist. I've been knowing him for over, I want to say 2 decades, when he used to work back at my father's barbershop, cutting hair. And now this man has gone all the way through and matriculated into being a full-time puppeteer in theater arts. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring on my man to the stage, Tarish Pipkins, a.k.a. Jeghetto. What's going on? How you doing?
What's going on, Wayne? How you been, man? Good to be on.
Hey, man, I can't complain, brother. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, bro. Like you said, that's been a couple decades, man, like 20 years.
Exactly. A lot of history there, man. So for those of you who don't know, man, tell them where you're from, T.
Originally from Pittsburgh, man, out in the suburbs, Clairton, Pennsylvania, the Mon Valley. I relocated, to North Carolina in 2005.
Okay. So give the people some background, like, we'll start with your earlier life. Were you always an artist, or was that something that you kind of got into as you got older?
I always remember being an artist, just from like holding a crayon and drawing things, taking drawings to my mother and her being surprised, like, you really drew this? So like kindergarten, first grade, I knew I was an exceptional artist, separate from everybody else. But I had to pay bills, so I taught myself how to cut hair, and I did that for a few decades while I was doing hip hop shows and live paintings, with Bridge Spartans Collective back in the day.
Okay.
To spoken word, to murals, and now it's puppets. So yeah, I've always been an artist, just been different mediums.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's a very important thing that you made a distinction of, meaning like, I know a lot of musicians, artists, anybody in a creative field, we want to pursue that with all of our hearts. But there is a reality that we have to, face, which is, the bills come on the first every month. So like, how did you feel? Like, did cutting hair give you an artistic outlet?
Cutting hair is art. Plus, I remember I used to do all those crazy designs. So I was drawing and literally drawing in people's heads anyway, flippers. But I've always, hung art, and had paintings on the walls with me anywhere I went. Because even when I was working there, I worked down at the Natural Choice, and he had like a gallery where, he let me hang my stuff all around. My man Nate the Fat Barber,
Okay.
DJ / barber back in Pittsburgh. He got a couple spots. I worked at a spot in Oakland, down in Pittsburgh at the university campus.
Most certainly. So at that time when you were coming up, did you still have to get a barber's license, or was it?
Yeah, I went to Bobby J's school. I used to run with Bobby J, Wayne Chandler back in the day. I was the young boy they took under their wing, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That was a hell of a story, man. I remember my dad always telling me about, how that opportunity, fell into his lap, coming up, being a master barber. And, I feel like, whether you know it or not, I learned a lot, from you and him, just being in that environment. I think one of the cool things that I admired about you the most was your ability to take what other people may consider trash or discarded items and turn them into art. And I think the coolest thing that for me, the coolest thing I ever seen you do was you used to take like utensils, like plastic utensils, and make art out of it. So can you tell people about that?
Man, I've done so many things. I don't even remember that. You know what I'm saying?
You don't remember that?
People, I run through so much art. Like all my pieces are like an hour or two, and I'm done with it.
Oh,
so
wow.
People
Okay.
People would post old paintings or sculptures I did, and I've been through so many different levels. I even forgot that I did it until I see it.
Most certainly.
And sometimes I still don't remember doing it because I roll like that with the art. You know what I'm saying? I'm real always producing, so I can never like really, like remember things unless it's something like as big like a mural, or it's like something like intimate, like somebody's loved one. You know what I'm saying? Passes or something like that. If I do a portrait of somebody, of a loved one that somebody lost. Those stick first. But as far as the art, man, it's like breathing, eating, and sex. You know what I'm saying?
It's part is on the menu.
Yeah, it just recycles through me, and you know what I mean, like a vessel.
Most certainly. Well, to refresh your memory, used to hang, and like you said, used to hang some wall up on the art at the Chandler shop. But there was used to do these jazz artists, and you would take like spoons and plastic forks, and you would paint, but they would also like pop out and protrude out of the art, so it was more like 3D art.
I remember that series. Yeah. I remember that's when I was in my mixed media stage.
Most certainly.
Now.
So
I was at an art studio right across the street from the shop.
Oh, okay. So how did you get?
We started those. Remember the Unblurred events up in Pittsburgh? I think they still doing them. We started those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they still going strong.
So what inspires you to be so quick on your feet? Because I know me personally with my art, I'm very like tentative to it. I feel like I call myself like a Dr. Dre type. Like I like to take my time, hone down on in it, and really perfect it. So like with you, how do you stay so consistent and so fast?
Just practice, you know what I'm saying, and challenging myself. Even when I was doing visual art paintings, I used to deliberately like do a whole painting with one paintbrush. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow,
or do it with my left hand. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't look like much, but when I explained to people how I did them, they'd be like, oh shit, like get out of here. How much is it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like every painting, every piece of work has a different story and a different method. Even the puppets, I approach every puppet with a different building style, and always trying to push myself and innovate myself. Because even the puppets are never really done, because I'm always rebuilding them and modifying them to work better. So all of them is in process. It's not about the finished product for me, you know what I'm saying? It's about the process and the creativity going into it.
Most certainly. And we're gonna get to the puppets in a minute, man, because to me that's fascinating. Like just your thought process of going in and creating that almost seems like an engineering mindset. But we'll get. Go ahead.
My wife, moving sculptures, and she called herself a puppet engineer.
Exactly.
It's more mechanical than, you know what I'm saying, like fluffy Sesame Street. These more like motorless machines.
Exactly.
With, simple machines.
Most certainly. So before we get into that, so like, do you have traditional training, or is this all like just things you've learned and picked up over the years through trial and tribulation?
I just pick them up. You know what I'm saying? The word drop in my head, like, puppy. I built a puppy. Dinosaur. I built a dinosaur. Because I just started building them like about 20 years ago. Like when I built my first puppets in Pittsburgh, and then I moved. You know what I'm saying? I was able to jump into it, reinvent myself down here, and, jump into the puppets, full time. Like I couldn't do in Pittsburgh because, barbering, and, your clients don't let you quit. You know what I'm saying? That was a big thing because I raised, like I watched little kids grow up from their first haircut to high school. That's how long I've been cutting hair, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had like lifelong clients. When I announced that I was actually leaving Pittsburgh, it was like, yo, like, what are we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
man. I'm telling you, man, when it comes to Black people, there are three things that we don't play about. It's our church and our pastor, our doctor, and our barber.
I would say when some people was like barbers like first on the list, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, look, man, you got to be in there like swimwear. You can't be coming in there looking like last week. All right, real, team. So let's set the stage, right? So no traditional training, but as a way to supplement your income, you started cutting hair, right? So
Yeah.
while you're cutting hair, you're still working on your craft, you're honing your craft. At what point did you decide that, okay, now's the time to move to North Carolina and try to do this thing full time?
Well, I was just tired of just being in Pittsburgh and snow and horrible weather and gray skies. So, you know, me and my wife, our son was 2 at the time. So, you know what, we just gonna roll out, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really jump into it full time until 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I was working as a special ed teacher at a private school.
Okay.
So that's the gig that I left, which I actually loved. And that was one of the hardest decisions I made, was leaving that school and leaving the students, you know what I'm saying? Because when I first started there was just the director of the school. Her friend was the science and a math teacher. The director was the, you know, English teacher, and I taught social skills and art. And there were just 3 teachers and 9 students, and it grew over 6 years to a staff of like 25 and 60 students.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it was a really small school.
Yeah. And then it, you know, but it's not that, like, the ratio was like 1 to 4, you know, 1 adult every 4 or 5 students. So it was a nice population. So, you know, in a learning environment. And when I did the Missy Elliott video, that's when things started blowing up with the puppets. That's when I decided, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and just leave my job, you know, do it full time.
Most certainly. So look, so now let's get into this puppet stuff, man. So Missy Elliott video, how does this happen?
It's all about who you know, bro. You know what I'm saying? I did music. Like I said, I was a hip hop head. You know, I was an MC back in Pittsburgh. I was touring with this my homie Izza Kizza. He got signed with Timberland and hit me up on Facebook, just like, you know, I heard you making puppets, you know what I'm saying? I'm cool with Missy, and she about to make a comeback, and she looking for puppeteers, you know what I'm saying? So he was the link to introduce me to her.
Okay. And for those who don't know, which video did you work on?
Oh, WTF, Where They From, with Missy Elliott featuring Pharrell Williams.
Okay. So yeah, for anybody out there, I'm gonna put it up here in the top right corner as a you know, a link attachment, but definitely go make sure you check out that WTF, right?
Yeah,
by Missy Elliott.
I was out in LA for 10 days working on that joint.
That's awesome, man. So like, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was saying we was kicking it, man. The producers was cool as hell. You know what I'm saying? They treated us right, man.
So what was the biggest challenge on that set for you?
Well, when I flew out, they were already auditioning people for the puppets, you know. So I had missed her, but she had dropped the ball on that, where she told her producers out there, you know, the situation. They jumped and got all their people out there to do it. So I was kind of left, and they couldn't find anybody, you know what I mean, to make them dance and twerk. So she was like, I know a dude in North Carolina and this other dude in Jamaica named Rich Atkinson.
Okay.
They flew us out. So I seen the puppets. I was like, yo, I'm gonna have to modify them, because they were, you know, dope puppets, but they were kind of stiff and they wouldn't move like she wanted them to. So I had to like take the hip and you know, the midsection apart, loosen them up, you know, stretch the strings out, whatever, and rebuild them so they could move. They had to loosen them up so they can be more fluent when they dance.
Okay.
So I had to do that over the 10 days before we did the video shoot.
Most certainly. So let's take us into the mindset of the mechanics of a puppet, because I mean, obviously, you know, we see how fluently it moves, but it's just like, especially with your puppets, the fluency in which they move to me doesn't match with the things that you're holding. It almost seems like what you're holding shouldn't be able to do as much as it can.
That's my whole like mission statement, is to get the most amount of movement out of the least amount of controls.
Okay.
So that's why I'm always improving and modifying and working on them, because to me, movement is more important than the way the puppet looks. That's why I keep them abstract looking, you know, so I don't make them realistic, because if I can trick your brain, take you into the uncanny valley where you looking at something you know damn well ain't real, and you still question it, you know what I'm saying? That's like the magic of puppetry, where you have people, you questioning your reality for that split second.
Most certainly. And so you said you feel like that's all encompassed in the fluidity of the motion? Oh,
definitely, yeah. It's all about the movement, bro. Like this, when I have puppets that trick animals like dogs. I'll be at festivals and like I have like a dinosaur puppet, and that the dog would be freaking out thinking it's real. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, you know, when you're full into animals and thinking that your puppet is real, that's when you know your next level.
Most certainly. So now, is this shoot before or after you started your company?
Oh, man, I started playing with puppets on the streets, man, in Carborough, North Carolina.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's where I started. And,
okay, so you did like street performance?
Yeah. I was a busker, a speaker out, you know, on the street, and that's how I got my name put out there, because I was actually working at a restaurant called the Spotted Dog in Carborough.
Okay.
I asked the owner if I can, because I, you know, start dabbling with the puppets like on a real tip. I was like, yo, like, I made these puppets. Can I, you know, bring them to the Christmas party and perform for y'all? She's like, sure. So I, you know, rocked out or whatever. And she was like, you know what? Why don't you set up out front of my restaurant just to see what happens? And that's what started the whole, you know what I mean, Jeghetto career, like for real.
Most certainly. So like, what took off first? Like, how do you create a business model around something like that? Because, you know, I'm really into like models of possibility. A lot of us, we don't do things because we don't see someone else doing it. And so when I look at like what you do, you're pretty much like a trailblazer in that, you know, it's not really many people that you can look to. So like, at what point, like, are people coming to you for parties? Are they coming to you for commission? Are they coming to you to learn how to do puppets? Like what takes the company to the next level?
Yes, all of the above, bro.
All of the above.
I categorize everything. I break it into the merch department, which is, you know, I got t-shirts. I do commission puppets. There's a next section, the compartment, where I do birthday parties and functions, events. Like I'll do I'll perform at a convention for a, you know what I mean, a corporation, or a birthday party, you know, like for a 4 or 5 year old. I just did one like a couple months ago. I got one next week. I still do kids, that interaction. I do workshops and performances at schools from preschool all the way up through master's degrees. I did residencies at like Boston University. James Madison University in Virginia. I worked with them and built giant puppets for their theater program. Okay. So I'm all over the place, man. I get commissioned for like television, TV shows and films. You know, so I've been on movie sets, music videos, you know, and it's like, so when the calls come in, I categorize everything and I do it all. And so like I had the installation at the museum in Atlanta. So I went down there for a week, built an installation, came back and performed for my man in Durham, and went back to do the puppet show at the same museum. So I'm like, that's what my schedule looks like.
So you ripping and running?
Ripping and running, bro. Ripping and running.
That's great. That's great, man. To see something so abstract but so unique, you know, paved the way for your talents and to help you flourish, man. That's a blessing, brother.
I mean, so, plus, I like expanded it and turned into a family business as well. That's the appreciation and the gratitude I get from it. You know okay. Because the gigs were getting, I started missing gigs because the scheduling and the emails and the contracts, I couldn't handle that side and still be creative and performing. So I had to step to my wife like, yo, you're gonna have to, you know what I mean, jump in and manage and, you know, at least handle the contracts and the emails and stuff for me. Because, you know, that's what she does anyway. She's an organizer.
Okay. How does that, does that put a strain on your relationship at all? Or do you feel like it's made you all closer?
It made us closer. We're coming up on our 20th anniversary.
That's awesome.
Next month, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we going strong. The kids are involved, you know what I'm saying? My son, my 14-year-old, he's 14 now. He's a puppeteer with me. So I've taken him, you know what I mean, across the country, doing shows at, you know, puppet festivals and performances at, well, he's been to Detroit so far, Virginia, and Chicago. Okay. You know what I'm saying? That's like quality time, and I'm teaching him the game as well as the business.
Yeah, man, you giving him a whole lot of crash course.
No doubt.
Most certainly. So let me ask you this: out of all the puppets that you've made, what has been the most challenging that you've had to deliver?
I just built a puppet for a TV show, man. The director wanted it to actually catch on fire, so I had to build a fireproof puppet, and it actually worked. It, after a while, it fell apart, but he got the shot in the scene that he wanted. So that's awesome. I do research, man. I got this. It's this flame retarded material called panther fur.
Panther fur.
Panther fur. It's Hollywood stuntmen use it. They cut it out and make suits out of it when they get set on fire, be running on fire. Panther cloth, I think it's called. It's like a 1/4 inch thick. I held it on my hand and put a miniature torch to it, and you can't even feel the heat.
Oh wow!
I think it goes up to like 3,000 degrees or something like that.
Oh wow! Yeah, you put me on game with that one. I might have to check into that.
So I'm gonna see if I can make some like oven mitts out of the extra material that I got.
I was gonna say, put it to good use.
Yeah, and that's another side of puppetry, man, where I do like for example, I got commissioned to do a show about Frederick Douglass. So I do the research, I reread his, biography and everything. So I'm actually learning a lot from doing research for puppet shows as well. So I'm being educated. I'm getting paid to be educated through research, for my puppet shows as well. So that's a part of it that I didn't think that would come about.
Most certainly. And yeah, like I was just thinking about that too. Like you're working in so many different capacities, and you're not making the same thing every time. So you're constantly changing, constantly evolving. So I really, because I'm really interested about like how these puppets are made. Like, is there like specific attachments that you have to put in certain places, or is it more like just kind of give me some more insight, man? Because I don't even know how to ask the question. I just want to know how these puppets are made.
I couldn't even tell you how I make them, man. You would just have to like watch me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got a couple of workshops online where you can go check it out, but it's not like a skill. It's a gift, and I'm just I'm at a point in my creative process where I'm not sitting and thinking and pondering on something. I'll see the dilemma, and the answer comes to me like that, and I just jump right on it. It's like I'm skipping, like 12 steps of creativity. I'm only using like 3 or 4 steps.
Okay.
So more like a spiritual type of experience versus a plumber or electrician where you go to learn it. A plugs into A and B plugs into B. It's not like that. I'll throw a handful of materials on the table and say I'm going to make a so-and-so out of this, and I have to use this. So that's awesome. It's like a problem-solving challenge.
Understandable. Yeah, that reminds me of kind of like a song or a statement that Michael Jackson made. He said, if a song comes to me, I got to make it or it's going to go to Prince. And I think what he meant by that was there's something that's out in the universe that is working through me as opposed to me creating this. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Because they say someone thinks of an invention, there's probably like 10 people around the world that got the same thought at the same time. But it's all about who went after that idea and brought it and made it tangible.
Yeah, whoever can manifest it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Most certainly. So our most difficult puppet, what's our favorite puppet that we ever made?
It's always something new, and I'm always, recreating stuff, man. It's like I'll have a puppet that I've modified that's older, and I'm like, that's my favorite puppet now. So it just goes, saying randomly week to week. I'm eclectic like that anyway. I can't make a decision on anything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I hear that. Stay on to the next one, like Jay-Z.
Hell yeah.
So, I had got disconnected from you for a couple years. Didn't really see anything. Then I got back on social media and somehow I seen you on there. And I got reintroduced to your brand by seeing you on the Steve Harvey show.
Word. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me how that opportunity happened.
What'd you say?
I said, tell me how that opportunity came about.
Man, my wife emailed the show behind my back, man.
Oh, what?
My wife's a go-getter, man. She's a, you know what I mean? She's a rider. So she emailed the show, and they got back to her and was like, yo, like, because, you know, he has a segment on this show where you know, he respects people who quit their jobs and like go and you know, jump in entrepreneurship. We call it make a leap. So there's a section on this show was like, you know, could you know, give us some advice? So she sent them the links to my website and everything, which she built. You know what I'm saying? She built my website as well.
Okay.
So the producers hit us back, was like, yo, like, we want to give y'all a whole section of the show. And so they was like, we want to make it to where we give you a whole segment. So they was like, you know, made up this story, you know, we're going to say that, you know, the puppets are taking over the house and he needs workspace. And that's where I got the shed that they gave me. It's like, I use it as a workshop.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they, you know, they set it up, flew us up there. We stayed the night, went to the studio in the morning, did our thing, and they sent us back to the airport like, peace. We was home the next day.
How did that did that have any positive effects on your brand?
Yeah, it's funny because it was mostly people emailing me and giving me advice on how to, you know what I'm saying, on our relationship, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The show was set up, you know what I'm saying? You know, they got a set up where Steve give you some advice, you know, some sound advice. So it was mostly that, but I actually gained some followers, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny because my people, you know, that I know would hit me up like, yo, you on the Steve Harvey show? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
plus, no idea.
Steve Harvey, you know what I'm saying, I would network through him. He was mad cool. You know what I'm saying? When the cameras went off, he was like, look, man, you know what I'm saying? We from Chicago, that. We used to chop it up on the bleachers. So when you make those connections, that's what, you know, it takes you to the next level. And saying he ain't hit me up yet, but I'm sure it's like something will be in his life, like somebody will say puppets. Like, yo, my man Jeghetto, you know what I'm saying? Hit him up. So that's, you know, networking and meeting people. Even if you on a project, I've been on so many like pilots, you know what I'm saying, that never got aired. But every time that happened, I built a relationship with the producers and directors of that pilot that didn't happen. Yeah. So I'm networking and behind the scenes on that level.
That's good, man. And that's a gem. So for anybody out there, laying one brick at a time builds a house. You know, you can't, Rome's not built overnight, but, you know, stay consistent, stay down, and build those connections. And, you know, hopefully eventually something will pan out for you.
Oh, man. You don't know how many TV shows, reality shows, movies I was almost in, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's been so many that I brag about it now. You know what I'm saying?
He said, hey, he's part of Hollywood, people.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So I'm gonna ask you a question that's a little bit outside of you know, puppeteering, but it's still relevant. So through all of this, I've heard you mention your wife.
Yep.
And the bond that you all have. So like, how important has it been having her by your side? Do you think that that's like, you know, hindered or helped you more by having a helpmate there that, you know?
And if she didn't step in when she did, when we did step in together and collaborate, that's when it really took off. Because she's an artist in her own right, you know what I'm saying? She does fabric art, jewelry. She's a seamstress. She actually made her wedding dress. You know what I'm saying? So she's doing her thing, but she wanted to spend more time with family, so she works part-time gigs while I hold it down.
Okay.
So, and she can still help out with the business instead of, you know, going out and getting a full-time gig. So it's actually improved relationship and business on both ends.
So what qualities, let's say I'm a younger man, I'm in my, you know, mid-20s, somewhat established, right? And I'm looking for a partner. What qualities would you tell that individual to look for in a helpmate?
Then it just breaks down to respect and loyalty. Like, for real, respect and loyalty. Before I met my wife, it was while I was listening to like a story on NPR, man, and this old guy, like 80s and 90s. And he said something, man, that like really rocked my world, man. He said, I didn't marry my wife because I was in love with her. I married my wife because I knew that she would make a good wife.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Because you know you've been in love with the, you know what I mean? The wrong one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's why I wear my ring on the wrong finger.
Exactly.
I married the wrong woman. Head look like the back of a toaster.
Yeah, and that stuck with me. And plus, you know, I was like, had to, you know, I grew up in Pittsburgh, man. We survived the 90s, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Early 2000s, the gang bang was out of control. So I had to change my circles from, you know, the cats I grew up with. And I started hanging out with other artists, you know what I'm saying? And reaching out that way. And that's when I met my wife, you know what I'm saying? I was doing caricatures at an art event in Homewood when I met my wife. She came out, you know, sit down, little fine thing, gave her a little free portrait, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So let me ask you this, man. Even in my entrepreneur journey, I've noticed, just like you said, you know, the more you grow, the smaller the circle gets. Do you know why is that?
You say, why is that?
Yeah, you know, it almost seems like you said, you know, African American men, we tend to come from inner city environments, right? So we come from a lot of trauma, we come from a lot of dysfunction, and I see that a lot of us that try to, you know, change our circumstances and get out of those situations, we have to separate ourselves. And I always just wonder why, you know, we have to be so secluded, or we have to take that moment and separate ourselves to grow.
Because you got to cut the negativity, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the negativity is sometimes it's friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, family, toughest part, especially, you know, it's like siblings and whatnot. But if it's negative, man, if it's stressing, you got to cut it out so you can focus on your dream. And don't listen to anybody to tell you that your idea is not a good idea. Because if somebody can sell millions of people a spring and say that it walks down steps, you know what I'm saying? You can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
America, man, you know what I'm saying?
No,
you can make a dumb idea a good idea just from the way you market it.
Hey, look, I see it all the time on Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you just go like, how is this selling? But you know, hey man, it is what it is, brother.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know, the cat videos, man, like I actually have a video of a puppet controlling a puppet.
Yeah, I saw that.
Crazy shit. But somebody have a cat wrapped up in a blanket, million heads, you know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
Like, what do I got to do, man? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, I think, you know, high level art has been taken for granted because of our access to social media. You know, we're just inundated with visual, you know, content. And so the things that are, you know, awe-inspiring, they can, you know, they get desensitized to it.
I mean, that too, but it's like Instagram has been like a networking monster for me, bro. That hashtag thing. Because my timeline, I only follow puppeteers and artists mostly, you know what I'm saying? If someone's doing something interesting where they follow me, I'll follow them back. But man, the networking on Instagram, that's my bread and butter. The DMs hit, boom, boom, boom. That's all, you know, I get most of my gigs, my birthday party, do you do parties? Yeah, hit me up. I'll post, you know, my handmade toys. Every time I post a video, I make a few sales.
Awesome. So do you use that specifically for business purpose, or do you kind of like, you know, use it for business and pleasure? Because I like the idea, like you said, being intentional with who you follow and the content that you're consuming so that it, you know, elevates your actual business.
Yep. Yeah. Was that question again? The first part?
Yeah. Just wanted to know, like, it sounds like you're using it specifically for business. Like, are you separate to, like, do you have two social medias? No,
it's just all business.
All business.
I post little personal stuff because when you have followers, man, especially because I'm an activist as well, and people actually want to hear what I have to say sometimes, man. So something real serious happen, I'll post something, or it's just like, you know, me and my son on a plane going to a show, or me and my pug, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A little puppy, you know, or I'll, you know, go for a walk. I'll, you know, see a bald eagle or something, take a picture of it. So I throw a little bit of my personal life, like we had just bought a house. So, I'll post something where I replace a toilet or something like, I replaced my first toilet. When you get a follow people, man, people are interested in your personal life as well. So I don't like spill my guts to them, but I just, give them little updates, post pictures of I get a new hen or something because we got like 6 chickens.
Okay.
I'll post that, what I'm saying? Just little random stuff just to, just to make it more personable.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually just had a brother on the podcast last week. Actually, this last Tuesday, I had a brother on the podcast, a guy from Florida named Ridge Got the Chalk. He's a artist. And he basically had the same sentiment, is that it can't all be business. You got to put certain things in there so people can connect with you on a personal level.
Exactly.
And giving people that little bit of, personal touch, elevates your brand that much more.
Yep. Because
go ahead.
Separate the two, but I was like, nah, because my brand is who I am. I'm not going to separate. I'm not a different person. This isn't like a persona that I'm putting on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. This is like Jeghetto is not a character. Like, this is who and what I am. So I didn't see any point in having a whole separate page when my art is my everything that I believe in is in my art anyway. So why would I separate the two when my art is my life? Exactly.
Yeah, this podcast is my attempt of putting myself out there more, and giving people more of Dwayne, the person behind the Dad Media brand. So I totally agree with you. So do you have a Jeghetto Academy? Like, if I want to learn how to do puppets, can I come to Raleigh, Durham and learn how to do some puppets?
I mean, that's why, the workshop came with the house, man. Come on down. I do personal teaching lessons. We could do it on Zoom if you're not local, you know what I'm saying? I do classes where if you want to like link up with a few people and do something like once a week for a month to build a puppet. Yeah, I do it all. And I'll make up something if you having a loose idea, or say like if you want to do something like a workshop at a birthday party, I'll like come up with a package deal for that individual party. Like everything is made up as I go, you know what I'm saying? Because this style of art is so unique. No one knows anything about it. I'm always educating people on it, from the biggest productions to, small shows. Mm-hmm. So it was even was looking to get an agent, but that was kind of pointless because I even asked other puppeteers that are famous. They're like, just negotiate your own stuff, man. You'll learn as you go.
Understandable.
So I do.
Yeah. So because you're in an industry where there really isn't rhyme or reason, or there's really no set, there's nothing set in stone. Everybody has a different idea. The processing and executing that idea is going to be different every time. So how do you manage client expectations for something that's so ambiguous?
I mean, it's just the basic, rules of business where you exceed expectations. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You show up, you're personable, and you have good work. You win every time. That applies to everything.
Understandable. So look, everybody out there, man, consistency. If you don't show up and show out, then how could you expect anybody to, promote your brand like you would, right?
Exactly. You got to give them more than what they expected every time, bro. Every time.
Exactly.
Because that's what sets voice from the men. You know what I'm saying?
Most certainly. Man, it's just the brand is so. Hey, look, man, I'm gonna give you your round of applause, man. Jeghetto, you're amazing at what you do, brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm all inspired every time I see you create a new puppet. And I'm always looking forward to you, putting something else out there. What's your current project that you're working on right now, the big thing?
I have some TV stuff coming up. I'll wait till it's announced to announce that. But I'm actually editing my short film called Spinocchio for Heather Henson's Handmade Puppet Dreams production company. And
Okay.
I think one of their platforms is Amazon Prime. So I have a short puppet film. After it's the title of Pinocchio. That's the same title as the installation down at the Center for Puppetry Arts.
Okay, perfect.
So I'm trying to put in at least an hour a day. I'm not an editing dude, you know what I'm saying? That's like some technical stuff, but I'm pushing through, bro. I got my 14-year-old helping me out.
What program are you using?
LumaFusion on the iPad. It's the iPad's equivalent of Photoshop.
Okay, understandable.
It's same level, same drag and paste, and so like I'm merging live action video with stop motion.
Okay.
So like, and it's work. It came out better than I expected it would. So look out for some crazy sci-fi puppetry, man. That's gonna come out. Wow. I'll send you a sample of it. I'll send you.
Yes, please send that to me, man. I'll look forward to that.
So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now.
Okay. We've been on here for a little minute, man. I appreciate your patience. I probably got 2 more questions for you, and these are 2 questions I typically ask everybody that comes on the show. What's the biggest trial and tribulation that you probably had thus far while owning your business? How did you overcome it? And then our last question would be, what's the biggest piece of advice you can give to a young entrepreneur out there to maybe help them make a shortcut?
Man, the biggest obstacle, man, was the first winter when I quit my job and went into this full time. I didn't know you got to stack your chips because winter is slow. You know what I'm saying? The school gigs slow down. Yeah. So I actually borrow money from a couple family members to make it through. You know what I'm saying? And once I got through that, I was like, that'll never happen again. You know what I'm saying? My wife looking at me sideways like, yo, you said you was going to come through. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So that, and as far as advice for young entrepreneurs, there are no shortcuts, man. You got to put in the 80-hour week. What I can say is, if you ever had a job and you went out your way, like getting up early, catching a bus, you know what I'm saying, in the winter time, or just going out your way to make money for somebody else, what if you applied that energy to you?
Church.
What if you got up at 6:30 for you and put in those hours for you? You know what I'm saying? That's what I was doing the whole time I was putting in work for somebody else. I was still putting in 8 hours a day in my art. I was up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. Yeah. Knowing I had to get up at 7 to get the kids ready to, to drop them off and for me to go to work. So if you got a 40-hour gig, you got to put in 40 hours on your shit as well until you can leave that gig and do your thing. And then it's going to be an 80-hour gig. Once you jump doing you know how it is, bro. Yeah, man. The more success you have, the harder you got to work.
I'm going to play this portion of this podcast every week on my page, man, because I don't think people really get that part, man. Like, they think becoming an entrepreneur gives you the ability to relax. And I tell people that's not until you get to the end, you know?
And you still ain't relaxed.
And you still can't relax because once you get up, you got to protect yourself from losing it.
Yeah, like real quick, man. When I was out in LA, man, I was with Missy for like a week. Man, she was the first one in the studio before we got there, and she was waving bye to us while we were leaving. She was there when we left, man. Yeah, and she's at the top of her game, and she was the hardest worker there. So the more you accumulate, like you said, the more work it takes to maintain. So at that level, she has to maintain her status. Like, I couldn't imagine that amount of stress. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'd rather be the producer and the director's back, behind the scenes instead of the fame. I'd rather have it for my work instead of people knowing my face. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, that's why a lot of us, we started out rapping and then we started doing something behind the scenes because we still, we like the entertainment industry, but you got a little bit more control when you're behind the camera.
Yep, exactly.
For sure, man. So we know Brother Jeghetto's putting in 80-hour work weeks. and he's doing everything he can, you know, to bring awe and to bring wonder into the world, man. So on behalf of myself, Dab, you know, media brand, and everybody else out there watching this, we want to say thank you, brother.
No, thank you, man. It's an honor, bro. Good to see you grew up to a responsible winner. You know what I'm saying? Told you we go way back.
Yeah, man. 4 flats on the Cadillac. Nigga was giving me a ball fade. You know what I mean? Back when I had the big ears. Yeah.
Proud of you, bro. Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. So before we get up out of here, man, let people know where they can find you, man, your websites, your social medias, all that kind of stuff.
Yep, just Google Jeghetto, everything will come up, jeghetto.com. I'm on Instagram at jeghettos_puppets.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, just, you know, search Jeghetto, check out the videos there, man. And yeah, hopefully I see y'all, you know, in person. Holla at you, I'm approachable.
Mm-hmm. Most certainly. Yeah, definitely an approachable guy. And like I said, man, we're both in North Carolina, only about an hour and a half away. So I would definitely love to come out there and check out the studio at some point.
No doubt. I'm still waiting, bro.
Yeah, most certainly. Let's knock that out soon, man. Because actually, I'm supposed to meet my dad this weekend.
Where we're at? You coming down?
We going to Charleston.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll let him know we did this podcast and tell him you said what's up.
No, man, call me when he get there, bro.
I'll FaceTime
you in a minute. Yeah. Tell me, hit me up when y'all link up.
All right, most certainly we'll do, man. All right. Well, we appreciate y'all, everybody, man. If y'all want to, you don't have no choice, man. You got to follow the Instagram pages, man. I got 2 of them. First one's going to be Dab Media Group. Our second page is going to be dabclothing.co. I also have 2 Facebook pages as well. www.facebook.com/Dab Media Group, as well as Dab Clothing Co. You can also go to my website, www.dabclothingco.com. I got t-shirts, I got hoodies, I got women's leggings, I got women's workout equipment, I got foam runners, I got purses, I got it all. So, you know, definitely come support the brand and the merch. I got 20% off all original Dab logo tees, so we can get some of this inventory out before the fall gets here and I start pushing these hoodies, man. So without further ado, again, Tarish, Mr. Jeghetto, we appreciate you coming on this week's episode of Developing Apex Brands.
That's what's up.